We're going to go over some things to consider when you're programming as far as your tooling and the way it moves, and also park position. Okay, so right now what I've done is I moved my cutoff tool past the center line in X, and it's about 50 thousandths away from the front of the tool. Okay, when you program, your software doesn't know what the relationship is from one tool to the next. So right now, if my program thinks it's on tool number 1, which it is now, okay, and in my program, it calls up tool number 2, and then it tells it to move tool number 2 to Z0, okay? It's going to crash my cutoff tool right into the part, because it's now looking at this tool. It's going to move this tool to Z0 without any consideration for any other tools on the carriage. Okay, so when you program it, when you get done, you have to know which tools are sticking out further and what their relationship is. So in the program, I would actually move this guy out to about 1 inch, Z plus 1 inch. Then my next move to this tool would always be an X move first to move it into position, okay, and then bring it into the part. Okay, then for the next tool, I get done turning with this. He's on the back side. I move it out and I move it to 1 inch, okay. Then again, I would call this tool up because it's pretty much the same. It's almost the same as far as its Z location on the cross slide. Move my X into position, call up this tool, and then start working with this tool, okay? Another thing you can do is put a park position in there, okay? So the park position goes by the numbers on your machine numbers right here. So what you do on that is you go into jog, and I'm in continuous, all right, and I'm gonna jog right now. If I jog right about there, that's clearance for all of my tools. And I read my Z, and it's Z minus 8.77. So if I go into my F4 screen, right down here is park position, you double click on it, and you put in the Z position that you want your park position to be. So minus 8.77, save. Now if I go back to MDI, park position is G30, so I can either go to MDI or in my program go G30. And it moves to 8.770 and my home position in X. All I can set is my Z position. It'll always go to that Z position and home position in X. The other way you can get there is if I'm in jog. If I go back to my MDI screen, MDI command page, it has right here, go to park position. I just click that, and it takes it to the park position. So if you want an easy way to get to clearance points, park position is always going to move Z first and then X. In your program, you can tell it after each tool to go to a park position. If you want to speed up your part, if you're doing production or multiple parts, and you don't want to have all this movement, then you're going to have to actually put in your program how far this is going to move on the Z axis and away in the X axis before you call up the next tool. And you can cut down the rapid travel distance of your tools. But using the park position is a pretty easy way to get yourself to a clearance point. The other one they have on the MDI screen is go to home Z, which takes you to your machine 0 and Z. And there's also go home all axis. Oh, I guess I'm already home in both axes. Okay, so anyhow, if I was in jog, DI, go home all axis. Okay, and the homing sequence is set up by your homing page, right by your homing information on your F1 screen. So if you double click on that, it's telling sequence 1 is always going to move in the Z-axis first and then in the X. And on a lathe, that's pretty much the way you want it to move. You've got all your tools down here in different positions. Generally, if you move them all home in the Z first, there won't be any clearance problems with anything clipping your part in the X-axis when it moves home. So if that's all set up the way you like it, just hit save. So those are some tips on things you need to think about as far as your tool relationship to each other when you actually run your program. As soon as you call up a different tool, all it's looking at is the information for that tool. It doesn't know where this other tool might be, so you have to do some editing on a lot of your programs just when you go from one tool to the next so that you don't crash. And we'll go over conversation next.